my parents dislike my boyfriend. My dad even offered him money to leave, while my mom kept accidentally spilling wine on him during dinners and secretly made dating profiles for me. When he refused their bribe, they cut off my tuition and told me I needed someone from our circle, not a nobody. Now they're constantly calling me about my so-called troubling behavior. I've been with James for nearly a year, and honestly, it's the best relationship I've ever had. We met in the most unexpected way during that major storm that hit our city last April. My Uber canceled, leaving me stuck downtown in heavy rain without an umbrella. I ducked into a small bookstore to wait it out. While browsing, trying not to drip everywhere, I started chatting with the guy working there, James. We ended up talking for over an hour, even about childhood cartoons. He's a Batman, the animated series fan, which is absolutely the correct answer. When the rain eased, he offered me his umbrella, since he only lived 2 blocks away. I resisted, but he insisted, saying I could return it later. That led to exchanging numbers, casual texts, and our first coffee date that weekend. Since then, everything has felt natural and effortless. James is thoughtful, hardworking, funny, and treats me with genuine respect. He doesn't come from money. He was raised by a single mom, worked full-time, and put himself through community college. His resilience and strong work ethic are things I deeply admire. The challenge is my parents. They're not openly snobbish, but they have very specific expectations about who I should date. We're not wealthy, but my dad is well-established, and my mom comes from an old family. They paid for my private schooling and cover my art school tuition, which I appreciate. But they treat this as permission to approve all my choices. When I first told them about James, my mom immediately asked about his education and family background. Learning he went to community college and that his mom is a nurse's aide, she gave me a look I'll never forget. At our first family dinner, she spilled red wine on his shirt within 10 minutes. He laughed it off politely, but she did the same thing at the next dinner. Twice doesn't feel like an accident. Things only escalated. My mom began sending me articles about how relationships at my age rarely last, and even links to dating apps. Then, I discovered she had actually made profiles for me on 3 apps using photos from my Instagram. When I confronted her, she defended it as keeping my options open. I was furious and left the house after making it clear how inappropriate and invasive that was. At another dinner, my dad criticized James' bookstore, saying it wasn't a stable career in the age of Amazon. My mom chimed in, comparing me to my cousin who got engaged to someone from a wealthy family. Through it all, James has been endlessly patient. Still, I could see their words weighing on him. He once told me he felt they would never think he was good enough for me, which broke my heart, because he is more than good enough. The worst moment came when I overheard my parents privately. My dad said James was using me and called me his meal ticket. My mom agreed and said they needed to step in before things became serious. When I confronted them, they claimed they were protecting my future. I told them James has never asked for money and always insists on paying his share, even though I currently earn more. He's thoughtful, supportive, and respects my independence. They dismissed this, saying I deserved someone from our circle. I made it clear I wouldn't let them dictate my relationship. Then came the shocking part. James revealed that my dad invited him to coffee and offered him $10,000 to leave me. When James refused, my dad raised the offer to $15,000. James stood firm, saying he loved me. Hearing this enraged me. When I confronted my dad, he admitted it, and tried to justify it as an investment in my future. I visited my parents after that. They tried to present it as a test of James's intentions. My mom cried and insisted they only wanted the best for me, while my dad said James wasn't from our circle and couldn't offer the right connections. I pointed out that James supports me more than anyone ever has. My mom countered that love doesn't pay bills and reminded me they funded my education. Finally, they gave me an ultimatum: end things with James or lose their financial support. I refused. I told them they couldn't buy control over my life. My dad said I'd regret this decision, but I walked out. Since then, they've flooded my phone with messages ranging from guilt trips to stern lectures. I've muted them for my own sanity. James, meanwhile, has been incredibly supportive, even offering to help cover the tuition I'll now struggle to pay. I don't want debt between us, so I'm applying for emergency aid and scholarships. And I may need to take time off to work. I've already started moving into his apartment since my lease is ending soon. It'll be tight financially, but at least I'll be free from my parents' control. My sister was shocked when I told her the short version. She's always gone along with our parents, but even she thinks this is too extreme. Despite the stress, I know I made the right decision. James treats me with respect, care, and love, things money and connections can't buy. So here I am, broke, stressed, but free and supported. I'd appreciate any advice on managing affordable health insurance and student loan adjustments. But more than anything, I want to make it clear: no one should have to choose between their independence and their parents' financial leverage. Would it have worked? And if it had, did they really think I'd never find out? I keep replaying it and feeling the anger all over again. Where do I even start with everything that's happened since my last post? The past 6 months have been a roller coaster of stress, small wins, and non-stop challenges. I've been meaning to share sooner, but life has been chaotic. I barely remember to charge my phone most days. First off, we survived. We actually made it through the financial nightmare after my parents cut me off. It wasn't easy, but we're still here, still together. And strangely, I'm almost grateful, because I've learned things about myself I never would have discovered if I'd stayed comfortable. Let's start with school, since that was the most urgent problem. After endless emails and 3 separate financial aid meetings, I managed to pull together enough emergency grants and loans to cover my last semester. I did have to drop an elective because of material costs, but I was still on track to graduate. Moving into James's small apartment was a big adjustment. We love each other, but suddenly sharing a bathroom the size of a closet with someone who owns more hair products than me, let's just say it took some patience. Our first fight even came from me mistaking his pricey conditioner for shaving cream. He didn't talk to me for 3 hours. To stay afloat, I picked up 2 more freelance clients and started working evening shifts at a cafe. James took on extra hours and began helping small businesses with social media on the side. Between us, we were working close to 140 hours a week. We hardly saw each other except when collapsing into bed at night, exhausted. Our diet for 2 months was mainly ramen, peanut butter sandwiches, and leftover pastries I brought home. I dropped 10 pounds just from being too tired to eat. James made me little protein packs with hard-boiled eggs and cheese, leaving them in the fridge with heart-shaped notes. Sweet, but also sad that we communicated more through Post-its than conversations. My parents tried calling weekly in the beginning. I ignored most of it. But one day, I picked up. My mom started cheerful, pretending nothing happened. When I didn't play along, she switched to guilt, saying they only wanted the best for me. I told her, unless they were calling to apologize for bribing my boyfriend and cutting me off, there was nothing to say. She dismissed me as dramatic, insisting I needed to understand their perspective as parents. Then she revealed the real reason. They were willing to help me financially if I agreed to meet and discuss my future. I asked directly if that meant cutting James out. She paused, then said I should keep an open mind about my options. I hung up. Right after, I had a mini panic attack on a bench, because honestly, I was tempted to give in. We were broke, exhausted, and constantly stressed. But I knew that if I caved, I'd never be free of their control. The one bright spot has been my sister Rose. Still in high school and living at home, she's my insider. According to her, my parents tell people I'm just going through a phase and will come to my senses. Rose even sent me cash from her babysitting money, which made me cry at work. I told her to keep it, but it meant everything knowing she was on my side. The strangest moment was running into my mom at Target. I was sick during finals and grabbing cheap shampoo and medicine. She looked shocked to see me, probably because I looked awful. For a moment, she acted normal, asking about my classes and even offering to buy me better medicine. But as soon as I mentioned James, her tone shifted. She made it clear she still hoped I'd reconsider. Despite all the stress, I started thriving academically. Without their safety net, I became determined not to waste a single class I was paying for. I studied harder than ever and made the dean's list for the first time. When I showed James, he picked me up in our tiny kitchen and spun me around. James has been steady through all of this. Even when we were tired and short-tempered, he never suggested my parents might be right. He still left me notes in my books, brought home flowers, and made tea while I studied late. Then came some good news. 2 months ago, James was offered a management position at the bookstore. The owner wants to step back, and he saw James's mix of knowledge and business sense. The job came with a pay raise and benefits, which felt like winning the lottery after months of scraping by. Around the same time, one of my freelance clients recommended me for a part-time agency role. It isn't huge money, but it's steady with potential for growth after graduation. With our combined income, we were finally able to look for a larger apartment. We found a 1-bedroom with closets and a usable kitchen. Signing that lease felt like a milestone. We did it ourselves, no help from my parents. Of course, they shifted tactics again. My dad called with a half apology, saying he may have overreacted but still acted in my best interest. Then he casually mentioned a family friend's son, fresh from law school, as if to suggest a replacement. I told him, unless he was apologizing for bribing my boyfriend and cutting me off, we had nothing to discuss. He claimed I was wasting opportunities. I hung up. Minutes later, my mom texted, calling me cruel to my father. I replied, an olive branch doesn't come with strings. Graduation is in 3 weeks, and I'm unsure if I even want them there. Rose says they plan on attending and have told family members as much. James says it's my decision and he'll support whatever I choose. His mom is coming. She's the kindest person and has practically adopted me. The last thing I want is drama overshadowing the day. Weirdly enough, despite how difficult this has been, I feel more like myself than ever. Making choices, paying bills, and solving problems without my parents' safety net has been terrifying but also freeing. I finally know what I'm capable of, and it's far more than I believed. It's been a while, and I wasn't sure how to put this together, but people asked. So here it goes. Life is still mixed. Some wins, some struggles, and plenty unfolding. Graduation was huge. I debated inviting my parents, but finally did. Not because I forgave them, but because I didn't want regrets. They showed up, dressed as if attending a business event. They didn't cheer, just stood there. Afterward, they offered quick congratulations, then dodged Sharon's lunch invite. It felt like they were only keeping up appearances. A week later, my mom texted about a celebration dinner. I agreed to coffee instead. At the cafe, they made small talk, then shifted to my future. When I mentioned the agency job, my dad looked disappointed. Then my mom handed me a $5,000 check, supposedly a graduation gift. But the condition was clear. They'd support me if I made sensible choices, meaning leaving James. I slid it back and said no. My dad accused me of choosing a man over family. I told him it wasn't about James. It was about them trying to control my life. I walked out. Since then, they've bombarded me with calls. I've tuned most of it out. James's job is going well. He even bought the bookstore. It's tough, but he's making it work. My agency bumped my pay, and together we were able to get a mortgage on a small house. It's old and needs work, but it's ours. Recently, I video called my parents and showed them my Dean's List certificate, the mortgage papers with both our names, and James at his store. I reminded them they once called him a nobody and offered him money to disappear. This is what that nobody helped me achieve, without their support. My dad said I was showing off. I told him I was just stating facts. They were wrong about us. He criticized the house, saying we're stretched thin. I said, we're doing it our way, not theirs. My mom softened, admitted she missed me, even apologized for the dating profiles, but added we're moving too fast. I said I'd be open to family time if they stopped criticizing James. My dad started arguing again, so I ended the call. They've eased off a bit since. Though I'm not holding my breath, James and I are solid. The house has challenges, the store keeps us busy, and money is still tight, but we're figuring it out. My parents may never understand, but I know one thing for sure. I built this life on my own terms, and that makes all the difference.